What are IUCN expectations of what countries may achieve as COP20 ends?
As far as the ongoing negotiations are concerned, I think there are two sets of expectations. The first expectation is that there is greater clarity on the elements for the 2015 agreement, for the 2015 negotiating text that comes out of Lima and then can be taken forward by parties on the road to Paris next year, where the hope is that we will reach an effective agreement on climate change. The second expectation as COP20 ends is that parties can provide greater clarity on the information that they furnish as they put forward their intended nationally determined contributions next year. As far as IUCN's own expectations are concerned, I think it might be useful to characterize it in three parts. First, in the light of the fifth assessment report of the IPCC, I think there is a need for much greater level of ambition and action on climate mitigation at all levels. So I think that is something that we would really like to see expressed by parties. Secondly, I think there is a greater recognition also now that we need to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and that we need to promote the greater use of renewable and low carbon sources of energy in a manner that promotes ecosystem and human well-being. And finally, from IUCN's own perspective, given that 25% of global emissions today come from the land sector, I think we would very much like to see greater recognition of the value of ecosystems, the better management, protection and restoration of ecosystems and the benefits that this can provide both for mitigation and for adaptation. And we were very pleased to note that at Lima, this was recognized by some of the countries, for example by the Philippines, by Panama, speaking on behalf of the Coalition for Rainforest Nations, by Costa Rica, by Montenegro, that all recognize the value that ecosystems play in mitigation, adaptation and disaster risk reduction. And we would very much like to see action by all countries on this front in a manner that is gender responsive, that is socially equitable, that takes into account traditional, local and indigenous knowledge, and that most importantly takes into account the needs of the most vulnerable communities.